I'm Jeanette Keynes from Jewelry Arts Inc. This is part 4 of how to make a bezel setting for a faceted stone. We're covering everything you need to know. You saw me cut my strip. Here it is. I annealed it to soften it up. And like I was saying before, this is fine silver, which is very soft anyway, but you know, you can either, once you anneal, you can let it cool, you can pop it in the water. But here it is, ready to go, nice and dry. One thing that is important if you're dunking your things in water, to make sure to dry it off, because it's not going to hurt this to be wet, but your tools get wet, they start to rust. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things you do want to kind of try to keep your area dry, because you can sometimes then a few weeks later get a little sad about yeah, all kinds of bad. Rust is not your friend when it comes to tools. So what I normally do, this is what's gonna be my bezel, which is nothing more than the strip that goes around the stone. But I want this end to be perfectly straight, because that's gonna be half of my seam, right? So before I start shaping it, I'm gonna just pull this open a little bit, you know, and line myself up nice and straight and cut the end. Now, a lot of people will file the ends in an effort to make it straight, and unless you have perfect filing technique, it doesn't work. And then people go, it isn't straight, I need to file it more to fix it. And basically you're just causing the problem that you're trying to solve. The main reason for that is when you file something, when it's supported, it's not so hard to keep it straight. As you go off, it tends to fall down. Do you know what I mean? Like slope down. Because if you've ever tried to get your bezels together and it meets in the middle, but the ends don't meet, that's because you're filing. So, and then you're filing to fix it. So it's a evil cycle. So don't do that. Normally with thinner bezels, I just use my scissors anyway. But if you were in a situation where you need to file, you would want to put yourself up against the table like this, or something like that, in order to help you be straight. Because I think a lot of times, especially students think like, oh, why can't I file perfectly straight by hand with no help? Like, that's not a thing. No one does that. Even the people that are really good at it use something to help them align themselves, okay? So let's take a look here. Looks pretty straight, but I'm gonna cut it just for giggles. Okay? So normally what I do is I start the curve with my chain nose pliers. You can also just start bending it on your mandrel. Now you'll notice my stone is an oval, but I'm using a round mandrel. I'm usually only using a round mandrel. The fancy shaped mandrels almost never are the shape of your stone. And I mean like never. Like you won the lottery, you know? So I don't even bother to use them for the most part for making bezels. I just use a round and I use my chain nose pliers to shape them. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put my finger up against here and I'm just gonna start a curve by like so. Now that's a guesstimation. I just kind of looked at my stone and looked at this and went, oh, that seems about right. But what's handy about the mandrel, it's tapered, you know, so you slide it up, you slide it down to adjust once I try it. So I'm gonna put this. Now I have made 5 or 6 billion bezels. So that is the right curve. But normally what you just put it on there and go, oh, it's too big, it's too small. And I'm gonna step aside and you notice that I'm looking straight from the top because I need to see what's happening in there. The ideal setting, your bezel is just big enough for the stone to go in and no more. Any extra space in there means that at the end, when you go to set it, you have like extra metal. And it takes longer to set, it looks more sloppy, and it's a pain in the fucking ass. So none of those things are good. We don't want any of that. So I'm always trying to make like, you know what I mean? Just enough. So I'm gonna move out of the way. I want you guys to come over and like, look down on the top and take a look at what that looks like.
I'm gonna try to zoom in first.
Alexis is gonna do a zoom shot.
Question.
Yeah.
Do you ever just measure, like if you have an oval stone, just measure first?